Hey folks, welcome to this guide that's going to teach you the basics of Yokai Shift. So first thing, what is Yokai Shift? So Yokai Shift is like your super demon form, which I'm sure you saw in the last video against Mezuki. I'm going to be going through a couple of concepts that are a little bit out of the scope of what you're going to see in the very beginning of the game, which includes kind of how to use it, but I just want to keep you well informed so that you're prepared. Now the first thing is that how do you activate Yokai Shift? So Yokai Shift by default is circle and triangle. Right now I can't activate it because my gauge is not full. But what gauge am I talking about? So right now I want you to pay attention to what's on the top left. You see my Guardian Spirit with the number 1. That 1 is telling me how much my gauge is charged up. And now it's fully charged up. At 100%, I'm sure you heard that sound effect, and you can see that my Guardian Spirit is glowing. This is how you know Yokai Shift is ready. And then if you want to pop it, I would recommend you press circle and then triangle, just as opposed to triangle and then circle, because sometimes you could do a strong attack and it can just feel a little finicky. But Yokai Shift has various different forms. So this is the Phantom form. The Phantom form is good at like flinging projectiles, doing sort of ranged attacks. There's also see attacks like that. There's also this charge attack. Now this is using the hidden skill, and so it's really well suited to that type of stuff. Let me showcase the brute form. Brute form is very much just up close and personal, and as you'd expect, it smashes like a brute. Here's a charge attack with the hidden skill imbued. It also does have a parry with the follow-up, which is pretty neat. Let's try that again. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, one more time. It actually functions very similarly to a parry from Ninja Gaiden, believe it or not. You can also do final blows. And here, I'll just show you the charge attack. Pretty much have hyper armor when they're all going off too, so it's pretty rad. Let me show the Phantom one in combat, and then I'll show the Feral form, what its strengths are. They just like teleport right in, do a bunch of attacks. Charge attack, pretty rad. See that? So you can be pretty offensive with it. Let me showcase the Feral form real quick, which deactivates Yokai Shift. Okay. Feral form is the speediest of the 3. So you can like dodge like that. With this one you can like dodge and attack. And if you want more like information and stuff about each of these, I'm kind of just mash buttons with this, truth be told, but they're very powerful forms. If you want more details about the specifics of each, you can take a look at the Shiftlink Tree and learn skills and just look at the main sort of mechanics here. So this is Blood Moon Yang. You know, you can kind of teleport to your target. Blood Moon Yin, you can shoot from afar and teleport to them, which is pretty cool. We've got the Brute Parry, which I mentioned, which does have a follow-up, which is pretty rad. And it does stagger an enemy, and it's really cool. Works on bosses too. It's pretty neat. And then the Feral form, which I have out right now, you can dodge in the middle of a quick attack, so you can be very evasive and very speedy, and then you can attack like right after the dodge, so it's pretty fun in that regard. Here's the charged up form of the attack with a hidden skill. So here, I'll just show you this one in combat. So pretty neat, huh? See that? You got that little after image dodge. Basically keep them on their toes. That's what the Shiftlink grapple looks like. You can actually do burst counters with every single form, regardless. So the timing is still the same. And then when you're done with Yokai Shift, all you gotta do, if you're say finished with it, just sheath it away. Pretty neat. Now what you may notice on the top left is that there seems to be something revolving. That is actually a cooldown. Now there are 2 ways to deal with the cooldown. One, you either wait it out or you fill up your gauge. Now how do you fill up your gauge in the first place? Now the most common way, the best way I would recommend, is simply hit with Yokai Abilities. So here, I'll just use Yokai Abilities. And you can see my gauge is filling up somewhat. Shoot this out there. And you see that I get Amrita just from hitting it. It helps fill up. It helps fill it up. Anything... Oh wow, Fuki gave me quite a lot. Any action, any time you absorb Amrita, you will get stuff back. Now the thing with Soul Cores and Yokai Abilities is that they give fixed amounts. So let's see how much Dweller gives. Dweller gives what? Oh, it actually gave me quite a lot. Okay, let's try it again. So I guess for each of the hits it gives a fixed amount. That's pretty neat. Cool. So you can see there's kind of conditions in which sometimes, depending on the number of hits, you can get more back. But I'll just demonstrate this with, which is fine. Dweller. Go Dweller, do your thing. So you see those 3 little specks of Amrita, each of them filled it up. And then that was still 1 speck, but it gave me a lot. So if you hit with Yokai Abilities, you'll fill up that gauge really quickly. Boom. Alright, let's see how much Fuki gives. So from 79 to 94. Wow, that's a pretty sizable amount. Alright, what about a burst counter? Come on, do it. No, are you not feeling... Here. I'll give you a little incentive. Come on. Enemy, killing enemies, just doing anything. Okay, well, I guess the burst counter didn't give me anything because you technically aren't gaining Amrita in the dojo. Okay, but generally, when you kill enemies and you absorb Amrita from killing them, you get like a couple of %. But the best way, bar none, is just hit with your Yokai Abilities and you will be good to go. Alternatively, what you can do if you just say don't want to wait is usable items. You can just use any of the Spirit Stones type stuff. Spirit Stones, you just use like, I don't know, like 5 or something. You'll get all sorts of stuff, and you can, aside from just using this to level up, and you can see the numbers get quite large, you can use things like Spirit Stones in order to circumnavigate a lot of stuff. So you see, I use a Spirit Stone, it fills up my gauge, even though the amount of Amrita that I get is very little. So that's really sweet. That's how you don't have to worry about it. So if you just want to go in and out of Yokai Shift, you can just pop a bunch of Spirit Stones, and you'll be good to go. Now, when you do get to cooldown, I do want to warn you. Oh, and by the way, if you want to put away Yokai Shift, you just sheath your weapon, in case I didn't state that already. But as you notice, the cooldown is very long. So while there's a time component going on the top left corner, it's basically, in order to get back to Yokai Shift, like to fully activate it, not only do you have to fill this whole portion up, you have to not only do you fill up the entire ring, you got to fill up the gauge in the first place. So it's basically like you fill up the gauge twice. So if I ran out and I went to 0%, then for the gauge, after I activated Yokai Shift, then I basically have to fill it up 200%. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, the best way to charge it is using like Spirit Stones and hitting with your Yokai Abilities. And again, some Yokai Abilities will give you more depending on how many things they hit, so it can be really valuable. Some just give naturally a ton. Soul Cores like Gozuki, I think, give like 30% based on the number of enemies you've hit. So I've hit like 60% enemies. There's also buffs that you can use to make it fill up faster. So the best one, in my opinion, is this one, Pleiades. So you can have talismans. I know Mezuki has this a percentage chance for killing an enemy. There's certain other Soul Cores which provide a lot. And so it helps you fill that gauge up much faster, so you can just get in and out of Yokai Shift. Now, when you're starting in the beginning, Yokai Shift is going to feel like kind of whatever. It's going to feel like, oh no, I got my super demon mode, and then it's just going to run out. And it's going to feel bad. But keep in mind, a lot of that is because of, two things. One, you're probably new to it and may not necessarily know how to work with it, and I'm going to touch on that very shortly. But also, you just probably don't have passives like, hey, extend the duration of Yokai Shift. Or, hey, let me reduce the amount of depletion for the gauge when I'm in the form. So having passives like this, and once you start to fill up the Shiftlink Tree, you'll be able to really tap into a lot of stuff like this. And one question I get asked is like, hey, does this Demonic Tenacity, does this only apply for brute form, so it's in the brute part of the tree? The answer is no. It's not brute specific. This applies to all Yokai Shift forms. So go ahead, go around and pick certain things that you feel would be most appropriate. So like demonic defense, get that. It doesn't just apply to Phantom, it applies to everything. So there's a lot of passives that really make it worthwhile. I mean, stuff like this extends the duration of Yokai Shift by a fixed percentage in the Dark Realm. Like, that's great. So you'll be able to more effectively use Yokai Shift in the Dark Realm. There's all sorts of things that you can get that will facilitate the longevity of Yokai Shift. And in case you're worried about Shiftling points, the max Shiftling level at this present point in time is 90. I'm at 65 on this character. So I've still got 25 points to put through. And yeah, that's a lot. I've never actually hit level 90, even on my PlayStation character, but there's a lot of things that I could get that would facilitate Yokai Shift in general. And then if that wasn't enough, I don't think I have the grace on this character, but I'll probably just put the details about it somewhere. But there is a ethereal set, now I wish I had it, that is available on New Game Plus 4, which is called, it's one of the graces. I'm just showcasing my graces on this character for the time being, just to give you an idea of the power level. But there's a grace called Saruta Hiko's Grace that has the keystone thing. So with this set, this is all about like Onmyo magic and basically having like infinite magic items and getting a ton of power based on that. So this grace gives you a lot of magic stuff. There's a grace that's devoted to Yokai Shift, and it has this keystone thing called Blood of the Yokai. It's on some other sets, but I just want to talk about this one. So with Saruta Hiko's Grace, so I'm going to get out of the screen and then just list the information for you. With Saruta Hiko's Grace, there's Blood of the Yokai. Blood of the Yokai basically makes it so that you generate more anima, and then you also, and by using your anima and successfully hitting with targets, you fill up your gauge even faster. And that still applies while you're in Yokai Shift. So what happens as a result is you have near infinite Yokai Shift. And this is freaking intended. It's crazy. It's nuts. So yeah, it's absolutely a thing. So let me pop back some Yokai Shift stuff. And let me kind of just educate you how to best use it. So you got Yokai Shift. Let's go take out a Yoki. Alright. Burst counter, not a big deal. Right now, the amount of power I have and the way I'm regenerating, or sorry, not even using up much of my gauge is simply because I'm in the dojo. The dojo is far more generous. So here's what you generally want to do. You want to do your attacks and stuff. Oh yeah, by the way, charge attack stagger. And most of the time you got hyper armor, so they stagger. Alright, see, I can like keep dodging with this, it's pretty nutty. But what you want to do is actually use your soul cores a lot. And all you need to do to use your soul cores is just freaking attack, and you'll charge up your Yokai Shift, and you'll charge up the, oh my god, there's so much to do! You'll charge up your abilities, your Yokai abilities, by just hitting with attacks. So right now, let me show you once again. I'm just going to deplete my gauge as much as possible. Alright, let's use that. Oh my god, I'm just having like infinite. But yeah, you just do attacks, use Yokai abilities when they're available, do your charge attacks when available, and go to freaking town. You go all out with this. And wow, do I move fast because I have a movement buff. Okay. Here's something else. So, you see how there's little Amrita particles glowing? If I want to do a quick charge, all you gotta do is absorb Amrita. Come on, more particles, let's go. And you can just keep this going. It's pretty ridiculous. It's crazy. Now, let's say instead I want to fill up my gauge. Here's what you can do. R1, R2. Pull them into to help fill up your gauge. Alright, let's see how it works. See, I'm just absorbing Amrita casually. It's pretty ridiculous. his attack. He can still do burst counters. You fill up a huge portion of your grave. I mean, look at that. It's crazy. Also, if you didn't know, you can change forms, assuming you have a different form for your second Guardian Spirit. So R1, L2 works for me, and now I'm in brute form. Go! Attack! Do all the crazy things! Bonk! Let's change forms. Oh, well, he died in that time. But yeah, so you can change forms, absorb Amrita, and if you've got stuff like Sarutha Hiko's Grace, you can just non-stop use your power. Just like over and over and over again. Change forms while it's happening. But yeah, want to send out a Guardian Spirit attack? Circle, triangle. Look at that. Bonk. Turn into a cat. Bonk. Change forms. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Throw it out. Change forms while it's going on, and then I can just like attack, like non-stop. You got, eventually you'll have 6 different soul cores you can use. Alright, it gets nutty. So yeah, definitely like abuse this. That's what it's meant for. Kasha's out, can't use this other one. Yeah, just go all out. Try not to get hit, of course, but again, when you have things like Sarutha Hiko's Grace, it's not really gonna matter. Oh yeah, one thing I want to mention, for whatever reason, Phantom gets a lot of flack for being the weakest of the 3. Yeah, it's not. I don't like to say, hey, this one's the most powerful, or this is the best, or whatever. It's really going to be a matter of preference. Let me show you what Phantom can do that others can't. Aside from the whole teleportation thing. Alright. Okay, I'm going to stagger. Alright, he's going to stay staggered. Okay, this is not the best demonstration. He's dying too much. Staggered. Charge, stagger. Charge, stagger. Charge, staggered. Hey, let's try it on a human opponent, just so I can illustrate how crazy it is. Alright, wait for that Amrita, and staggered. So, yeah. That's pretty crazy. So, don't underestimate the power of Yokai Shift, despite what people may tell you. It's a very powerful tool, and it can be a lot of fun to throw into your combat. And usually, as you see there, it does a ton of damage. Let me contrast this with just my current gameplay, just so you can see. I mean, while this is great, Yokai Shift definitely felt pretty cheap. It's taking me longer, which is fine. But yeah, Yokai Shift, bottom line, is a very powerful tool, and if you remember to not only just use the attacks, but use the soul cores that you have at your disposal, and potentially decide to switch your Guardian Spirits so you can have even more variety, then you will be in really, really good shape. So yeah, don't underestimate it. It's a powerful tool. And with Sarutha Hiko's Grace, it's like crazy powerful. Even it's just nuts. So hopefully give it a chance. Hopefully enjoy it. And again, I hope this lesson was helpful. Thank you guys for watching. And I will see you guys next time. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time.